Joel Harden is the member of Ontario's provincial parliament for the riding of Ottawa Centre. He is a part of this effort and joins us right now. Mr. Harden, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here, Michael.
So a bit of background here for people at home. You and a group of other Ontario MPPs are trying to essentially double the payments individuals who are on Ontario Disability and Ontario Works get. And to do that, you've been living on this social assistance diet. What does that mean? How do you define a social assistance diet?
Well, the definition we took, Michael, was from what the Harris government, a previous Conservative government, said in 1995 someone could live on. So when we asked researchers to think about inflation, of what that 1995 cost of diet, that Conservative government of the day thought people could survive on, what it amounts to today is $47.60 for an individual person per week. So that's what my colleagues and I decided to try to survive on for 2 weeks.
Okay, so that is the dollar figure. In terms of practicalities, what did it mean? What was it like to actually live on this kind of budget, on this kind of diet?
Wasn't easy. I worked on the same bag of lentils and bag of dried chickpeas, dried lentils. It was cheap bread and peanut butter spread thinly for breakfast. It was a lot of the same food all day long. And moreover, because you're always thinking about your next meal, you have to prep stuff ahead of time. A lot of your day is preoccupied thinking about, how you can stretch whatever you have. And I think that's life for folks on social assistance I've spoken to, Michael. That's what everyday life is like, that constant hunger, constant suffering, and it doesn't have to be like that.
So your hope is that, again, the Ontario government, the PC government under Doug Ford, will actually double the payments. Would that then be a livable amount?
Well, it was a livable amount for 9 million Canadians who accessed the CERB in the pandemic, who because of the pandemic could not work. That's what life is like for people with disabilities, Michael. They have to prove to a doctor to qualify for disability benefits in Ontario that they cannot have access to full-time paid work. But then we consign them to poverty. $1,169 a month, that soon will be $1,200 a month. No one can live in this city, in Ottawa, on that. Or for Ontario Works, $733 a month. So it's a lot more expensive for us to make people live in poverty and to actually give people a livable income. And if they can work or volunteer on top of that, fantastic. But poverty costs us in Ontario $33 billion a year. Doubling the benefit in Ontario for social assistance, $8 billion. It's a third of the cost.
So what then do you make of the measures that are now coming out of Ottawa? Essentially, the Trudeau government proposing here a monthly doubling of the GST rebate for 6 months for those who qualify, a rental supplement, a move on dental care. I know it's not your backyard being in provincial politics, but as you talk about the suffering people undergo and the kind of daily struggle those with little money actually have to go through, what does that say to you about the current proposals? How would you assess it?
It's minuscule. We are talking about gimmicks and baubles at the federal level, all due respect to the Prime Minister, and all due respect to the Premier at the provincial level. And frankly, I'm tired of it because we are funding affluent people who would go to hockey games. We subsidize successful executives sitting in box seats to deduct 50% of the cost of those hockey tickets or entertainment expenses. They're legitimate expenses you can write off in your taxes. And we waste billions of dollars in similar write-offs for the already affluent. But poverty continues in our community, and for some reason we refuse to invest in making sure everybody can have a decent meal, a roof over their head, and it costs us in police costs, it costs us in healthcare costs, and in prison costs, ultimately, when people have a really, really tough time. So our view is, let's change our priorities, let's go across party lines and say it's time for us to invest in making sure every kid, every person gets a decent start, and we will be a fairer, more compassionate society.
Joel Harden, thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure, Michael. Be well. Take care, everybody.
You too.